Welcome to Average Joe's Adventure. I'm privileged to have you tag along on all my adventures. I hope you enjoy our adventure today as much as I did. Today's adventure, we're going racing down at Berlin Raceway. We got the Sportsman car in the trailer. This race day started like any other race day. Unloaded the car, got it up on jack stands, got our tires. I was blessed to have my two granddaughters, my son, and a very close friend. I was feeling really good on how the day was going. Checked over the car just to make sure everything was in place and ready for our first race. At the drop of the green flag, everything was perfectly normal. We didn't have too good of a qualifying effort, so we started in the back, which wasn't too bad. I thought I'd just ride around for the first few laps and see what the car would give me. Stop the video right now. Give a little history. Our races aren't like NASCAR races where you run 500 miles or 500 laps. Ours are only 20 lap races. We do two 20 lap races per night, so we call them double features. Caution came out halfway through the race for just a single car incident. I think he just spun off a turn 2 and we went back green. At this time, everything was just fine. I felt great. I noticed within the next 5 laps or so, which would get us to lap 15, my left arm started to just feel numb. My seat does come up underneath my arm and wraps around my ribs. So I kind of contributed that to it just pinching off the circulation. So I repositioned my arm and didn't really think anything of it. And then 2 laps from the end, I can distinctly remember going into turn 3 and being in the middle of turn 3 and 4 and thinking, why am I so winded? This is only a 20 lap race. A couple weeks prior, I did a 40 lap race and didn't have one single issue. But I was just getting really, really tired. As soon as we took the checkered flag, I started on a cool down lap and getting ready to pull back into my pit. And your body just starts relaxing. The tenseness, the high adrenaline, the blood pressure starts coming back down, and I noticed just kind of a lump in my throat and a little bit of a pressure in my chest. By the time I got onto the back stretch and going into turn 3 and 4, I knew something was really wrong. My chest hurt so bad, it felt like somebody was piercing a dagger right straight into my sternum, and then on top of that, twisting. Our rules state that you can enter the pits in between turn 1 and 2, and that was my plan, or right before turn 3. Turn 4 is the pit exit, and I couldn't stand it anymore. I knew I had to get out of that car, and I knew I needed help. So I went in the pit exit, and race control let me know that I'm not supposed to do that, and I'm truly sorry that I did, but I needed to get back to my pit, get unhooked, and get some help. As you can see, I'm struggling a bit trying to get my gloves, my helmet off, my helmet unhooked from my Hans device, and trying to get someone's attention. Obviously, it's very noisy down there. My son came over to the window, and as soon as I took my helmet off, he thought I was overheating and just dumped a nice cold bottle of water on me. Finally, I was able to communicate that I needed some help. The Life EMS crew came down into the pit area along with Berlin safety crew. They helped me get out of the race car and into one of their ambulances. With the pits being on the infield, they moved out to turn 2 so the races could continue. After the lead paramedic's assessment, he said, quote, "You're having the big one. You need to get to the hospital immediately." They rushed me to Butterworth Hospital's ER. They were radioed ahead and knew I was coming. There was probably around 20 to 25 doctors, nurses, and other technicians in that room. I don't think I was in that ER room for more than 20-25 minutes between getting blood draws, giving me more medications, asking me just a ton of questions. They got me prepped for the cath lab. I remember getting wheeled into the cath lab. One of the nurses came over and said, this will relax you. And from that point, I don't remember anything until I was in my room. We figured it out. And from my initial symptoms to recovery and in my room was less than 2 hours. The next day, the cardiologist came in and he said, "Welcome to the 5% club." I asked him what that meant because I didn't know. He said, "You're the 5% that survive what we call the widowmaker heart attack." Also, he told me I'm in the other 5% club that they don't know why I had this heart attack. I'm not a smoker. I'm not a drinker. I'm very active. I have no family history of heart disease or heart failure, and that's what I have. I have heart failure. The hardest thing of this whole ordeal was knowing what my wife, my daughter, and my son were going through, along with my 2 oldest granddaughters. My son contacted my daughter-in-law and told her to contact my wife and tell her that they thought I was having a heart attack. My wife just put it off. "No, that's not him. He's probably just overheated." Probably about 30 seconds later, my daughter-in-law called my wife again and said he's on his way to the hospital in an ambulance and she needed to get down there. That's the hardest thing. I had no communication with my wife or anybody else at this time. My son had to load the car up and take his daughters back home. Thankfully, they didn't have to do open heart surgery. They just went in through my wrist and installed a stent. I want to take time right now to first thank my family for being there, for supporting me. I want to thank Life EMS, the Berlin safety crew, Butterworth Hospital, the cardiac team at Butterworth. I've got a new lease on life, and I decided I'm going to do everything that I've always wanted to do and more. It was a very long 3 days at Butterworth Hospital. So now the work begins. Cardiac rehab. When you have a heart attack, it's just like any other muscle, it gets damaged, like if you strain a muscle. So I'm working on building my heart muscle back up. It's 2.5 months into cardiac rehab. Been told your heart will only recover in the first 90 days. And then wherever that your heart recovers to, that's where it's going to be for the rest of your life. And I've got a long life to live. So I've been blessed with basically a second chance. And I know I've said that before, but yeah. Just gonna go in and do some cardio for 45 minutes to an hour and then head out to my next adventure. Well, I want to thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful. And remember, life is always an adventure.